Welcome to WinSouls TV. This is Bright Evangelist. Now let's just hop right on into it now. So we're in the second part of the series. This is Testimony Time, Prison Edition. Okay, so I already told you how I was led to prison ministry, how the Lord led me there. It's an amazing testimony. I put that in the cards right here, like blah, right there. Okay, so the second part, I started talking with the guy on my team that was a part of prison ministry. And so then I said I wanted to be a part of it. So I filled out all of this, whatever I needed to do. I went to go and get my prison badge so that I can actually go into the prison and all of this jazz. I'm going to all of these meetings and all of this. So after all of that is cleared, basically it comes to the time where, you know, we actually start having to go into the prison. And okay, so then I said, okay, Lord, you know, I really just want to be used as a humble vessel for you. I want to be used to the highest level that you can possibly use me. So I went on a fast. I was just like, you know what? I'm not eating this entire weekend that we're, you know, with these guys. Or it was a partial fast. It might have been a partial fast. But regardless, I was not eating until that time hit. And I remember, so we first got into the prison. And we get there, and I'm just praying in tongues, praying underneath my breath, praying in my head. And usually when I'm praying, I can feel like this fire. I get extremely hot. Well, this time I wasn't feeling that. And you know, we don't go off of our feelings, but what I'm saying is usually I feel that, and I wasn't feeling that this time. And so one of the brothers that was a volunteering with me, he came up to me and he said, well, how's everything going, Jeff? And I was literally about to say, man, you know what? I'm on a fast, but I'm not feeling. And as soon as I said I'm not feeling, the presence of God came on me so strong that I started rocking back and forth, and I got extremely hot, like extremely hot. And I like jumped, you know, and you know, I just let him talk, but having to contain that type of power was unreal for me. And so literally I said, Lord, I said, make it so that anybody and everybody that I shake hands with on this team feels that same power. And I started crying. I couldn't contain it. And so I said, make it so that everybody, this power is transferred to every single person that I shake hands with. So I shook hands before the inmates came in. I shook hands with each and every teammate. And lo and behold, I'm sitting there waiting for a second, and I look, and other people start crying. I mean, it was like a ripple effect. You know, it started with me, and then the Lord just took over. And then when the inmates come in, we shake hands with them. So the presence of God was literally being spread throughout the entire gym area that we were designated to be able to do the prison ministry weekend at. And so we're there, and the guys start coming in, and you know, I'm just looking, I'm shaking hands with these people. And keep in mind, this is my first prison ministry experience. I didn't know what to expect, haven't seen anything. I was just gonna be me, and I was just gonna let the Lord take the wheel. And shaking hands with people, blase. And out of nowhere, there was this guy that comes in. I know his name, but I'm not gonna say his name. We'll just call him Bob. So Bob comes in, and I was just like, whoa. Like, I looked at him, and then I knew. I mean, it was like I was seeing power just like come off of him. I wasn't seeing it in the spirit, but I was just looking at him, and his whole countenance had everything to do with Jesus. I mean, he had a smile on his face, and just the way that he was carrying himself, I was just like, nah, I know there's no way you can carry that type of joy without having Jesus in your life. There's no way. And so, Mr. Bob, so we talking to Bob and all of this, that, and the other, and he was just so happy to be here and everything. And so after we meet the guys, we break off into these individual tables, and he was at my table. What a coincidence, right? So, and I'm talking with him and stuff, and it didn't get to the point where it got really exciting until a little bit later. So we stood up and we started looking at some of the artwork that was in the prison. And while I'm up there, people just kept coming up to me. Like, I'm the only African American guy that was going, and that was one of the only African American guys. I think it was like 2, but I'm the youngest guy that was there. I'm in my 20s, and the other guys are like in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and so it's always older guys that were coming, but I was the only young guy, and so a lot of the inmates could relate to me because I was around their age, some of them. And so they were coming up to me, and I was talking with them. And let me tell you, in prison, I have never found such a high concentration of strong believers that know the word almost verbatim, page by page, ever in the entirety of my life. You are talking about believers that literally have a strong relationship with God. I haven't seen that other than in prison. Such a strong relationship with God. And it might be because of the simple fact that, they don't necessarily have the time. I mean, they don't have specific things going on the way that we do on the outside, but yet and still, the presence of God on some of the inmates was so strong that it was just unbelievable. So they're coming up to me and everything, and Mr. Bob was sitting down, and I guess he was watching this. And so I go up to him, and I sat back down at the table, and he said, "You're an evangelist, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, how did you know that?" He said, "You're the reason that I'm here." He said, "Honestly, I know the Lord, and I have a very strong relationship with the Lord." And I said, "Well, I can tell that." You didn't even have to open up your mouth. I can tell. And he said, "Yeah, but," he said, "you're the reason that I'm here, because I was actually going to opt out of the program because I felt like someone who really needed to hear it could take my place because I already know the Lord." But he said that he came because the Lord told him that he had a message for me. And literally that message was that he said that I was going to be used to minister to people all over the world. And I was like, man, wow. That was just such a great thing. So I don't necessarily take a prophecy for what it is. I always ask for confirmation when people give me specific things. And so I said, okay, so I always ask for confirmation. Well, just this past year, and the reason why I started making these videos was specifically because that has been confirmed through 2 people. One is Matthew Robert Payne, and then another is a specific guy that came to my church, and he was just praying over me, and literally he said almost the exact same thing. And I was just like, wow. And so I said, "Lord, what do you want me to do?" And all he said was YouTube. And I was just like, man, so all of these things are just starting to percolate, and I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. Hey, you're not going to find a perfect Christian. There's no such thing. There's only one that has walked this earth that is perfect. But yet and still, I receive my calling. The word says that our calling are irrevocable. Once he gives them to us, then literally he will never ever take that back. So receive who you are, your divine purpose, your divine identity, and literally start walking out of it. Sometimes we may waver from side to side, because I struggled literally walking in the person that I was created to be, Because for me personally, I felt like if I get too high, then I won't necessarily be able to relate to other people. But that's not the case at all. The people that I wouldn't necessarily be able to relate to were the people that I needed to realize that I needed to learn how to talk to. And then also, he was bringing me to a higher place, because then I would be able to teach, and then also I would be able to relate to those who are sharing these powerful experiences that God is having, or that God is using and bringing into the atmosphere right now. So use that. And so just to make this long story a little bit shorter, he told me that, and then we started talking about angels and stuff, and he was like, man, you thought I was, man, you might think I'm crazy, but man, I saw a demon in my yard. And he described the armor, everything. I mean, he said that it was like this armor the demon had on. This armor, and then it had like this wolf-like face, like in the middle of the armor. And it had like these sharp, like, things coming off of its shoulder and this, that, and the other. But he said that this was during a lightning storm. And so he said that there was a spark of lightning that came, or a shot of lightning that came down, and literally this angel came out of the lightning. I've never seen this. Okay, I want to see this too. And he said that it looked like, the thing that he saw was the demon was standing there looking, but then the angel, when he saw a whole fight on his porch, watching the rain. Literally, he said that the angel was coming in full speed, like with a sword, ready for war. I mean, literally was not, no holding back. He was about to chop that demon's head clean off, and I've never seen them fight or anything. I've just seen, one standing right here in front of my bedroom, and then there's another one that likes to, stand up there while I'm praying downstairs. And, but those two specifically. But other than that, I was sharing stuff that I had seen concerning demons, and specific things that I saw in my bedroom. Like, it looked like a planetarium in my bedroom, which was like the weirdest thing. I wasn't in space. I've heard testimonies of like, stuff like that. I wasn't in space, but it was like I saw all of these balls of light in the middle of the night. And I just opened up my eyes, because I had borrowed my girlfriend's dog, because I told you I was a little afraid, and the dog was just whimpering. The dog just kept whimpering. And I look up and I'm like, man, it had to be like 300-400 balls of light in my bedroom, right? Some of them were on the walls, some of them were just floating in midair. I can't describe some of the stuff that I was seeing and smelling. And so, I was sharing those testimonies with him and stuff. And before or after that conversation, we worshiped. And then there was this one thing that I wanted you to remember from this last video. You remember how I told you that the Lord told me that he wanted to use me to lead those without the slightest bit of hope? Well, after we worshiped, I was talking with one of the guys, one of the inmates, and he said, man, sometimes, man, it just feels like we have no hope. And then I looked at him, and my mouth just dropped. And I was like, man, this is where I needed to be the entire time. The entire time. Because I'm going to be, the Lord said that he wanted to use me to lead those without the slightest bit of hope. And then this inmate is sitting here telling me it just feels like we have no hope in here. And I'm like, everything is just lining up back to back to back to back to back. And those things are for you. Those things are for me. Those are things for all Christians. Basically what I'm trying to say. And so, man, please just gather your relationship with him, and he will take off in your life whether you want to or not. And that's the exciting part about it, because every single day is an adventure. You watching these movies like Lord of the Rings and all of this stuff, you can be living that. Put on your whole armor of God and break your foot sideways, down the demon's throat. Okay, I told y'all about that before. Take your sword off. Take it clean. Where the sword at? Take the sword. Chop his head clean off. Don't even worry about the blood. Don't worry about it. Angels will clean that up. Okay, don't worry about that. Okay, cut his head off. Don't worry about it. You can be living all of this. Bows and arrows, fiery darts. You know what I'm saying? Darts of righteousness. You know what I'm saying? Get up in the war. It's game time, baby. Look, you can be having the best adventure of your life. Just receive your calling and let's get after it. Y'all be blessed. I hope this has been a blessing to you. And stay tuned for part 3, because it's coming.